there is no concept of work-life balance. There is only balance in the present.
Born in 92 on the block with the Sharks. Come from a different cloth, y'all would get ripped apart. You want it diamond, then you gotta get it in the dark. We dropping nuggets like Carmelo went to Rucker Park. Now we eating from state to state, we scrape the plate. I put my eggs in a basket, took a leap of faith. I took a chance, now we grow and see the impact. Decoding success with special guests, now let's bring Matt.
Mario, my man, you are back. I just want to let you know, Mario, you were the third ever interviewee on this show, and you are back. Now, that was a while ago.
It was. I remember.
That was back in 2018, right before the holidays, 2018. So as you know from past experience, we always kick the show off asking how you define success. Last time you were on here, you defined it as harmony, meaning alignment in business, relationships, etc. Is that still the case today?
Woo, that's really powerful, man, that you actually have all these definitions of how people actually answer that question and whether or not that's actually evolved over time. Because the good thing about it is we should be allowed that evolution. Like, things can change. Things do shift, and it's okay. And I think a lot of people get stuck to maybe not realizing, like, people that are busy or ambitious, they do evolve and they do change, and things can shift. For me, that's a definition is still, at this point, still the same. Harmony is the most important thing for success for me. If my relationship with my child or my wife isn't on good standing, I feel horrible as a person. Even if I have extra zeros in the bank account, like, it wouldn't matter. So, like, that balance of really having that harmony of what do I need to fulfill for Mario in order to be successful? Mario wants to be able to have impact to people. Mario wants to be able to have impact to his wife and his relationship, his son. And Mario wants to be able to live in integrity and try to help with the content that we create as many people as possible. That is like the harmonious line. And it's hard to maintain it all, but that's what is success for me. So it's still the same.
I love that. So I actually need to backtrack a little. I need to express my gratitude for you hopping on a second time. I got so excited. I was ready to jump right in. I just want to express my gratitude for you hopping on. Let me start there. I want to express that gratitude, but not just in any time. Like, you're doing this during, obviously, a time where this world is in a global pandemic. So I just want to say, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to, jump on board and add impact during this time,
It's, I appreciate that. And I think I'll also reciprocate that. Like, I think both of us are the types of people that want to, and many of your listeners are the same way. Like, I know many of you can relate to this statement I'm going to say. Like, all of you are people that want to be able to leave a legacy, leave some kind of impact, or do something that's bigger than just you. And so when you called, I was like, of course, like, it's Matt Labrie. Like, are you kidding me? This podcast is off the chain. The dude has always been true to who he is. And so when your work speaks for yourself, it makes it easy for people to want to do stuff with you. That energy that you put out, that vibe that you put out. So those of you that are listening, make sure you're thinking about the energy that you're putting out. Are you putting out energy of desperation, or are you putting out energy of collaboration? Like, what's the energy? Is it really, are you saying it's not about you, but it really is about you? Like, what's the truth? Like, get to the intent of that truth and really try to work on that, because when people like myself or Matt, we reach out, we're doing it from a place of intent of wanting to do something much bigger than us at all times. And I know that. So I'm thankful to be on, you don't expect to be on a podcast again, like once you've been on it once. It's kind of like, yeah, we've been there, done that. So I've been really thinking too, like, what will I say differently? Let's make sure I study some different thoughts. Let's make sure I think about some different perspectives. And it's just ironic that you are calling during this time of COVID. And, and I interviewed you recently because of the work that you're doing during COVID. The fact that you're out there on the front lines, feeding frontline workers, nurses, police officers, fire departments, and more, and consistently doing that and raising money and asking the public to support you is just who we are at the core. So it's not that I'm busy, it's that it's the right busy to be. And there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness. And I think those terms get intertwined all the time. So my first quick takeaway for everyone is, even though Matt said, hey, this is a busy time, which for some it is. For people like Matt and I, we're very busy right now. We figured out a way to like really look at this as an opportunity, not an opportunity that in that sense, but an opportunity in that we aren't going to sit on the sidelines. We're going to actively engage in doing what we think we can do to help give back in some way. And so I do that every single day when I was doing the IG lives that you were on. You're doing that with the stuff that you're doing on the front line and more. And so I just think that when you think about efficiency versus effectiveness, I could be more efficient right now. I could try to get a lot of things done, but am I being effective? Am I working on the right things? And so being on this interview or being on this podcast to me is working on one of the right things with my time.
Right, man. I love that. So how are you staying aligned and, keeping that success definition of harmony in check right now during, this quarantine that we're in, right? Because I'm sure you're home, you're with the family all the time. Things could potentially get a little hectic. I know I'm experiencing that, and, it kind of just threw a curveball at us. So I'm curious, like, how were you able to stay in the batter's box, make sure your knees weren't buckling and still hit the ball,
Yeah, I grabbed, I was like, let me get warmed up. I was like, that bat feels a little heavy. Let me change bats. Hold on. We got to adjust, right? So we're calling audibles every day, pretty much. We're calling some audibles on the play. But I think that the bottom line is structure. And I think the thing that really saved us right from the get, and if you feel chaotic right now or still going through that, really work on your structure. And if you're not the most structured or organized person, find someone in your clique or in your crew that can help give you some guidance on how maybe you could structure your day better. So here was the first thing that we realized. Number one, we already were our company operates pretty virtually. So we're used to working from home office spaces and workspaces and stuff like that. Having the kid at home, we have a young son, and having our child at home and being around each other 24/7, that's different because I'm on planes, trains, and automobiles quite often, and I'm not always home. So, the wife is always happy to see me. I'm always happy to see her. Not that we're not happy to see each other every day, because we are, but it's just, you have those spaces where you can actually be away and have some self-care time and some alone time and all those things, right? And what we realized right away, Nicole was like, and I call her CEO Nicole, she's like, okay, nothing changes. We just got to get the structure in place. What's the schedule for the day? And I was like, yep, you're right. All right, we're still getting up and we're still getting dressed. We're still going to act like we're going to work and we're going to school at the regular times, but we now don't have a commute. So what does that give us? Oh, an extra hour. Oh, maybe some people it's an extra hour and a half. Maybe it's 2 hours. Maybe it's 3 hours because you got an extra hour and a half on both sides of this thing. You just accumulated 3 extra hours in your day. What did you want to do with your life before when you said you wish you had more time? Now you have 3 extra hours. We were running around like, okay, we're going to maximize this time through structure. So I say the number one thing is having structure. Number two, if you're in tight spaces, one of the things that I recommend people doing is mentally getting your mindset structured. How do you do that? If you have to work at your living room or in your kitchen, you pick the one chair that is your office chair. I don't care. Put your keyboard there, put a plant there, put whatever there that feels like work. That's your office chair. Do not eat at that chair. Do not do leisure at that chair. Do not watch Netflix on that corner of the couch. Like, I'm dead serious. It's like, because it's mental. Because if you get dressed and then you wake up and you know like what your purpose is because you have structure and you know what you're going to be doing in the day, then you know where you're going to work from. Then you don't fall into these traps of like, you're doing sloppy work, or you're just like, wherever I lay down is where I do my work. And then I'm tired of work. So let me shut the laptop. Let me look at a Netflix thing. Let me open up the laptop again. Let me do my phone. Like, that doesn't really do. I think people are finding themselves in a more detrimental state potentially because there is no separation from personal and leisure. I mean, personal and work. And that's why I think the structure and some of these tactics that I'm saying have been extremely helpful for us. So we've been able to maintain. We've been able to obviously go outside, get some vitamin D, walk the dog, do those things. But we've also, not just from a work perspective, Nicole was very adamant on, hey, what are we going to be able to say about this time when it's over that we did differently? Like, we should be able to look back and be like, remember during COVID, we did X, or remember during COVID, we learned Y, or we played this. Like, what are some of the things that we could be doing as a family unit that we could create these experiences? And so we've been really kind of adamant and diligent about those family things too.
That's huge, man. And I think you hit the nail on the head for me and a lot of the people in my circle, because I want to say 3 to 4 weeks ago, I just completely lacked structure. Like no time getting up, whenever I wanted to get up, I was getting up. I was still doing work, but I was doing it whenever I felt like it.
I
You
love the
know?
honesty. Love this.
Yeah, and this is a conversation I had with multiple friends. So I think this is a really big question I'm about to ask for a lot of people. Um, I would play Call of Duty whenever I wanted to midday. I would, hop on Warzone. I would do whatever I wanted to do. And then I said to one of my friends, his name's Anaresis, a really great guy. He's been on the show himself. And I said, dude, like, I feel like I'm doing work. I'm just not doing enough of it. But
Yeah.
the thing was, when I caught myself, I was grateful for that. I made the change that I needed to make. But then I was doing too much work. In fact, I did so much work yesterday after our call, after we chopped it up yesterday on the IG Live. I just knocked out. I was like, yo, I need to sleep. So, like, what's your advice for finding and I don't want to use the word balance because it differs for everyone, but like, what's your advice for finding that right tone or the setting that you need to be on?
Yeah, this is a beautiful question. And let's be clear. I too am very much like you. It was just a little bit different. So what happened to you and your friend and a lot of other people was like, yo, this is like a snow vacation. We're in like blizzard mode. We didn't know how long this thing, you didn't know.
Right.
You didn't know how long this thing was going to take place. We all thought maybe a couple weeks. So playing Call of Duty, like we had all been hopping. You were already cranking. We were all cranking. So when this thing hit and it put everybody at a complete halt, you're just like, oh, I can't go outside. So I'm going to play some Call of Duty. I'm going to hang out in my pajamas. I'm going to play Destiny. I'm going to be on my Xbox for a minute. I'm going to just watch some Netflix and binge. And that was all cool. Then we realized, wait a minute, we're not going to go back to work next week. This is much bigger of a problem. And then it was like, yo, I'm still playing Call of Duty. Something's going, like, I don't feel right. Like I've never played so much video games in my life right now. So that's when it started hitting you like, okay, I need structure. Then you realized, oh my gosh, I have so much time. Yo, I'm trying to reach 1 billion people. I can take over the world right now. Do you know everybody else is home too? So that means their stuff, they could be watching my stuff. Like your ideas just start popping on what you think you can do. And then your to-do list gets massive. And that happened to me too. And then we all had to pull back. Our whole unit was just like, whoa, we're trying to be too productive. Like, wait a minute. We're actually trying to be too productive. So, and here's the thing I would say. To me, balance does not exist. And I know this may sound non-conventional or unconventional to a lot of people, but to me, it's my opinion, there is no such thing as balance. And here's why I say that. So all this work-life balance, I talk about this on the Never Settle Show. Go to episode 3 and episode 2, where I really dig into these concepts to get you to think differently. It's on YouTube at Never Settle Network. But there is no concept of work-life balance. There is only balance in the present. That's really all that it is. Because you can't do anything about the moment that's already passed, and you can't do anything about the moment that's yet to come. But you can figure out how do you want to balance yourself in the moment that you're currently in. And that's really just all about being in the present. So in your present state, do you feel tired? Well, then you should take a damn nap. In your present state, do you feel energized and you're ready to tackle that thing that you've been procrastinating on? Then you should tackle that thing you've been procrastinating on. But in order to do that, you need to have a level of self-awareness within yourself to know what energy you're feeling and not fight that flow. And that, to me, is the ultimate balance. Like, if I'm being completely present, I'm supposed to be doing nothing right now but thinking about the best way that I can answer your question from my experiences that could hopefully maybe give people a different perspective that can help them. It doesn't matter if the dog is barking or anything else is going on. Or, now if I want to start thinking about the future, I'm thinking about is my guest at my 12:25 IG Live going to be on time? Did I get all the graphics done? Am I going to have that ready? What am I going to do as soon as I'm off this podcast? Like that's, that hasn't even happened yet. So I'm not in the present. I'm not in that moment. So I don't believe in work-life balance. And I was a guy that used to believe that until I realized when you are actually, and here's why I think it really came about. Because we needed it, number one. Because once BlackBerry season, I call it BlackBerry season. Once BlackBerry season hit, like people lost all their crap with like how to balance their life. Like email on your desktop was one thing, because I could only answer your emails from work. But the minute BlackBerry season hit and people were getting emails on their BlackBerries and that thing was working, people were like, oh, I could work at 9 o'clock at night.
Right,
So
right.
that's where the whole work-life balance started. Like, wait a minute, we don't have balance like we used to. But ultimately, I believe the real balance is, are you aligned with your purpose? Are you aligned with what you ultimately feel you should be doing with your life? Because if you get that alignment right first, then the balance is like one continuum. It's not, I need to do this job that I hate doing, and then I work on the stuff that I love doing at night. That's balance. But once you get to alignment, you have become balanced. Now it's just, are you in the present with that balance?
Right. I love that, man. So you bring up Never Settle Show. Let's talk about it. How are you pivoting with this? I know, and I don't regret a lot of things, but man, I was so busy during the time you were filming at NASDAQ, and I said to myself, man, like, I regret the fact that I couldn't make it out to one of these recordings. Like,
Man,
I wanted to be there,
we
man.
had you on the VIP list, bro. We were ready for you.
I wanted to be there, man. We had an event going on one night. The other night, I wasn't even in New York. I was so mad at myself. But talk to me about Never Settle Show. What's going on with that?
I mean, Never Settle Show is first and foremost, it's a series of episodes that are less than 20 minutes, so anyone can like really, watch these things. And if you want to watch me at time and a half, like just watch it. It's on Never Settle Network is the name of the channel on YouTube. These are highly produced. These were shot before COVID, but we're talking 6-7 cameras. We're talking a live studio audience, a control room. It's shot in Times Square at NASDAQ, which has amazing glass to ceiling, floor to ceiling glass studios, just like being in Good Morning America studio set. Ginormous interactive wall behind me that complements the show. And we really pushed to create topics that are going to help people that are creators, entrepreneur types, freelancers, consultants, dreamers, and then also those that are looking to just level up their life. Maybe they don't want to be an entrepreneur, but they do want to switch careers. Or maybe they got a side hustle and they like it as a side hustle, but they also want to keep their career. Like people that want to advance themselves and people that are looking for new tools, tactics, different perspectives, and different action plans to put in place. That's who this show is really for. So it's 6 episodes up there right now. And then when we shot the 6 episodes, because each episode has a specific theme, like episode 1 is all about like getting your vision straight. And not only do we don't just preach to you, we actually have a website, neversettle.tv, where all the worksheets are for free. So if you need to get your personal mission statement in order and get your vision locked in, you watch episode 1, you see how other people are locking in their vision. I give you some advice, some other people share some tips and ideas, and then we give you the worksheets that you need to download to get that thing moving. In episode 2, we talk about how fear holds us back from pursuing our greatest self. Like whether it's fear of embarrassment, whether it's fear of public speaking, whether it's fear of putting ourselves out there, whatever the fear could be, we help you understand neurologically what happens, but then also practically what you can do to stop fear from getting in your way. And then we have some worksheets for that. So every episode, we're giving you the content, but also giving you tools to help you hold yourself accountable. And then there's a whole community right there in the comments. They're all following and watching what I do on Instagram Live because we do subsets of the show during my Instagram Lives. And, I wonder if I could have played a clip if I shared screen. But yeah, so just go to youtube.com/Never Settle Network, and you will also see beyond the episodes there, we have like, dude, we shot so much video, and I'm so glad we did this. While we had the teams and the crews there, we must have shot like 30 or 40 Q&As, like just questions from people on social media. We shot digital exclusives. We shot some behind the scenes. We shot my monetization for your passion formula. Like it's a formula that I do to help people that know that they have several ideas, try to figure out which idea is the one they should try to monetize first. And so all these things. So in total, we have over 100 pieces of content sitting on this YouTube channel ready for consumption. And there's got to be something there for someone to help them where they are in their life right now.
I love that. So this is a question I typically ask authors, but I think this very much so applies to what you got going on with the show. Yeah. If you and I were like coworkers and we met at the water cooler in our office and you weren't the host of the Never Settle Show, you were working with me wherever we're working, we could choose wherever we want to work. Yep. And you wanted to put me onto this show, what episode would you tell me to watch first and why?
Woo! Man, I thought it was episode 3 where I tell people you are the business. Creators, entrepreneur types, freelancers, consultants, think of themselves as that, the contractor. I'm taking this gig. I need that work. Let me get on that set. Let me get with that production. Let me do that design. Let me work with that author. Let me work with that person over there. Like, you see yourselves as gig workers, and you're only as good as your last gig. And I want all of us to switch that mentality, saying, no, I'm actually a business. Like, how's Jay-Z say? He's like, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. Like,
Right.
I'm a business. And so that mental shift of you operating as if you're a business starts to change how you think about the people you work with. They're no longer just the client. It's more like, how do I be their partner? Like, how do I elevate my standing with it? How do I bring more value to them? Because maybe I want to cross-sell them on a different product or service I have. Or maybe I want to upgrade them on a different level of service that I can give them, or a different product I can give them. And in order to do that, you have to be able to not see yourself as someone that's a work for hire mentality. You have to see yourself as like a partner for longevity. Completely different train of thinking. But since you asked that question, that was my first episode until yesterday hit. Yesterday's episode, everybody's banging me like, oh my gosh, this episode number 5, is on how to set your goals. And there are some unique and different approaches that I take in how you can set your goals that I think is what caught people's attention and gave them something new that they haven't heard before in terms of goal setting. And also, the time that we're in feels like, July is now is going to be January all over again. It kind of feels like you need to reset whatever you thought your goals were for January. You better recognize COVID just happened and not just try to act like it didn't, and you're just going to pick up where you left off and try to redo those same goals. I think you need to readjust those goals, reset your goals for what you're going to do for the second half of this year under a COVID kind of environment. And so I think that show, which was meant to run in January for people that were looking for how to set their goals for New Year resolutions, didn't run in January for other reasons, editing and other things, ran yesterday, and people are going nuts. So I would say episode 3 and episode 5. And my favorite part about episode 5 is a spot where I talk about tangible affirmations. Everybody knows what an affirmation is, but I come up with this concept that's worked for me over the years called tangible affirmations. So check out episode number 5.
I love that, man. That's awesome. Definitely going to have all the show note links and stuff like that in the show notes, or the links to the show in the show notes, I should say. But, we were doing an IG live yesterday. Obviously you get asked a lot of questions. I'm sure you get DMs. You're on other podcasts and things of that nature. But I'm just curious, like, what's a question you wished more people would ask you, and how would you answer that?
How many people pause when you ask this question?
Oh, a lot. Don't worry. I got some more pausable questions coming up. Don't worry. I do.
The one, that's such an interesting question, because quite honestly, it's a selfish one, right? like selfish for me, right? Like, it's like, I wonder why people don't ask me about blah, 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 how come you don't be asking me? I really, I wonder, I wish people would maybe ask more about how to hustle mindfully.
Okay.
I wish people would ask me more about, like, they know I'm on the grind. They know I'm on the hustle. They know I've done work. They know I have some accolades to prove that, some receipts that are in the bag that you can see and all that stuff. But they also know about failures, because I make sure that that's known, so that people don't get this one-sided view and perspective of what it takes on your journey to get there. But I wish more people would be like, Mario, man, look, man, I really love what I'm doing and I'm trying to really break through. But, how do I do this in a way where I can have more empathy? Or how can I do this in a way where I can treat myself better during the process? I'm constantly just beating myself up and all that. Like, I really wish people would start to ask those questions, because I think the longevity of the journey and the resiliency that you can get when you can have better self-care and a bit stronger awareness helps you in the long term for your journey. And the people that are around you along the way will really appreciate you as a human more than saying, man, I wish I was nicer when I was really like grinding hard back then. I wish I was a nicer person. So I wish people would maybe ask me more about that. But they ask everything else. That's the one thing. They ask everything else, bro. Like no question really gets unasked. I think that's one that I wish people would ask more about. And also, I wish people would also ask more about how can you identify other revenue sources for your ideas outside of the typical revenue sources. And the reason why is because I think a lot of people get locked into loans, family and friends, credit card debt, and then VC is the last. But everybody forgets or doesn't know or hasn't been exposed to sponsorship money.
Sure.
And so that's been a key mission that I've been on kind of recently. Like, oh, people know these 4 sources of income or 4 sources of like raising dough, and you hear bootstrapping and all this other stuff, but no one's really talking about how do you get brands to fund your ideas and still make it a value to them. And that's how we built our company for the past 10 years. So I'm like, I gotta go hard on helping people see this other source. And it's not to say that people don't know that it's out there, but there are obvious things. People think of, oh, I have an event, I need brands. Oh, I have a podcast, I need brands. I'm talking about the non-obvious. Oh, you're writing a book and you really would like to get an editor and you can't afford one. Why can't you find a brand that could associate with that book?
Right.
So
yeah, it's powerful.
There are reasons to bring brands into a lot of different discussions and sometimes reasons not to, but there is another source that I think people are missing. So I think those 2 questions are probably the 2.
I love it, man, and I appreciate the elaboration on both of them, but I want to respect your time. I know we only got a couple more minutes here, but you asked about pausable questions.
I want to hear these other pausables.
I got a few more. I don't remember if I asked you these on the way out of the interview last time, and that's going all the way back to 2018. I think we may have added these, but the first question I'm going to ask you is, it's rather cliche, and I'm still trying to find another way to ask it, but I do reverse engineer that question. Okay. And, there's 3 of them. I'm really curious. They're all about advice. So the first one is, what is the best piece of advice Mario has received? Again, this is a little cliche, but you got to bear with me.
Best piece of advice. Don't. Oh man. When you're taking advice from someone else, make sure they have the same thing to lose in the situation that you're in, or they've experienced something very similar to the situation you're in.
That's big. That's really big. That is really big. In fact, I'm sure you're familiar with Scott Adams. He's the creator of Dilbert.
Oh, yeah.
The cartoon. He was on the show, and he didn't say that as his best piece of advice, but he was elaborating on a story that hits that nail on the head. So hearing this over, man, it's so true. We want
validation. We want acceptance. And we like to ask our friends and family and other people for like advice. But the truth of the matter is, if they don't have the same amount of skin in the game, like if their decision doesn't also impact their income, like you need to be thinking about how much you want to put weight on that decision. If their decision or if their advice isn't coming from a place where they've experienced something similar to what you've experienced, you need to really question whether or not how much weight you want to put on that advice.
Right. I love that, man. So let me reverse engineer that now. What is a piece of advice that you didn't want to hear at the time it was given to you, but proved to be true over time?
And this is so beautiful because the stuff that you don't want to hear typically is the stuff you need to hear. But if you're not open to hearing it, you don't receive the message. And that's why this question is such a good one, because so many of us, different phases in our lives, we weren't ready to hear something, and then we open up or we mature or we get wiser and we realize, oh, that's what they meant. Like, yeah. So I would say, number one, I would say, try to be open more to the information that's coming your way that you don't want to hear. The
Right.
more, in fact, I would say the more you can get that type of information that makes you feel uncomfortable, that makes you feel uneasy, that really starts to mess with your ego, starts to actually help you if you can be more open to how you can use it as fuel, because it's really clues to your potential success or your potential moving forward. The one piece of advice, man, I'm searching for so many, I see so many faces popping in my head right now. I would say it's great. I would say, because I was a hard-headed kid, bro. Like, I didn't finish college either. So we're both in the same boat for different reasons. I got to share. That's a different story for another day, man. When gun violence comes in from someone off campus, enters into a campus, and their target is you for whatever the universe's reasons were, that's what happened. And it derailed my college future from that point forward. Once I left that school I was doing great in and then left, I never found footing again and never ended up finishing. That's the really, really short story on that one. But oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So the answer would be, you're not reaching enough. You're not reaching out to enough people.
Okay.
Yes, I am. What's enough people? I've called 10. 10? Call 50. Call 100. Call me back when you call 100. What? I don't need to call 100. I'm calling 10. Like, fighting that whole thing of like the law of averages is what I was fighting. Like, I'm smacking the crap out of my face because it's like, you can't fight math, B. You can't fight math. So I would say not listening to the fact of you need to up the amount of people that you are trying to reach to help you with a project or a decision or a pitch or an ask, whatever that may be. You're trying to get your book out there. 10 publishers ain't enough to talk to. 10 writers isn't enough to talk to. You're trying to get your podcast out there. 10 guests ain't going to do it. How many people are you willing to call to get on your show? Like, I didn't really respect that. And now it's like, yeah, law of averages is for real. The more you put in the work, the more you will get the yeses. And the more yeses you get, the more that energy builds on top of that energy, and so on and so forth.
That's huge, man. I appreciate that share. Listen, that's something I need to hear too. I think a lot of people need to hear it, but definitely something I need to hear when it comes to my business, etc. But last question for you, Mario. Last question. It's
great too when you can spit it back at somebody else.
Yeah.
Like what happened was, I had a guy called into the IG live show that I do on Instagram every day, and he's like, yeah, and he's a great dude, deacon chef, and he's a deacon and a chef, and he does stuff great for people in the community, and he's trying to build this nonprofit where he's got this restaurant that people from the community would also be able to work there, and people that are homeless would get work and all this stuff. So it's a great picture. And he's like, I pitched 5 investors, and he's mad. I'm like, yo, you haven't pitched enough people yet. Are you kidding me right now?
Right.
5 and you're upset? I was like, bro, don't call me until you have a list of 35 names. I need 35 different names at least. I didn't want to scare him with the 100 and all. Like, just get him to 35, and if he can realize 25, then 35 looks doable. If 35 is doable, 50 is doable. So it's great to now be able to spit that back and be like, look, I learned this the hard way. Trust me, you need to talk to more people. You need to up your frequency. So it's great now to kind of spit that advice back that I definitely want to take, and now love that I enacted in my own life, but also can spit it back for others.
I love that, man. So last question for you. This one might be the most plausible one out of all of them.
Oh,
but
man.
If
this
you
feels like
only...
the daily double or something right now. I'm about to score double the points if I get this. All right, let's go.
If you only had the opportunity to give one piece of advice the rest of your life, meaning you're hopping on podcasts, you could only say one thing. You're writing books, you can only say one thing. You're doing episodes for the Never Settle Show on this one thing. What would that one thing be, and why?
Man, that is a plausible. There's one that comes immediate to mind, and this is interesting that this one comes right to me so fast, because this isn't what I would think the typical Mario would say, but I'm going to say it. If you are the only one in the room, don't ever feel like you're in the wrong room.
Okay. That's powerful. Say that one more time. Say that one more time. I need to write that down.
If you're the only one in the room, don't ever let that feel like you're in the wrong room.
I love that.
Until we get to a place where inclusion and diversity and acceptance, and I'm not just talking skin color. I'm talking you could have a prosthetic arm and be the only one in the room with that prosthetic arm. I'm talking you could be the only vet in the room. I'm not even on skin color yet. And obviously I can go into skin color, and that can be all different shades of you. Or I can go into religions, or I can go into, hobbies and interests, or I can go into how your hair is, or how you look, or how you dress. We can go into so many different facets of how we project ourselves or how we like to present ourselves. The point I really want you to understand is, if you are the only one in the room, that does not mean you don't belong there.
Right.
In fact, what it means to me is that you have an obligation to actually make sure that your voice is heard, because you are a unique perspective. You are a different voice. You're actually in that room and you think, how did I get into this room? When actually they're all probably saying, without telling you, we should be bringing in some different energy and some different people and really opening this up. They may tell you that, they may not. The point is, if you're in the room, you no longer need to question being in it. You already made it through the VIP entrance. You passed the bodyguard, you got into the club. Now you're standing in the middle of the club looking around like, why am I here? Then they're gonna come grab you and be like, maybe you don't need to be here.
Right.
Instead of just like blending in, like, daggone right, I'm supposed to be in here. And by the way, I need to talk to the DJ, because you can't be playing this all night long like this. You got to also play some other music in here. Bring your perspective to the table. So I really think what I'm saying with that is, it's like, we walk into a lot of situations where maybe some of us feel a little insecure, or we're a little less confident, or it's a big opportunity, and we scan the room and we see that we're the only one. I mean, it could be you, Matt, going to speak to a room full of women. You're a confident dude. I know you're a secure, confident guy, but you could still go into it and be like, damn, I'm the only dude in here. Okay, so then what does that mean? So then that means I should really work on what's the best perspective that I can bring to this room of women in here from a male's perspective. How could I actually help them the most if I'm that guy and I'm in this space and I have this opportunity? So that's really what I want people to think about, is like, if you're the only one in the room, it's because you're supposed to be there.
Exactly.
So maximize that.
I love that, man. Mario, I appreciate you hopping on here. I know you got a split, man. I appreciate all of the value you continuously bring, not even just to the show here, but what you're doing with Never Settle, what you're doing with the IG Lives, all the content you're always putting out, the podcast. Nonetheless, you got a lot going on, man. I appreciate everything you're doing. And again, taking the time out during this whole quarantine thing that we find ourselves in, man. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you, man. And it's like a big brotherly hug, man. And because like I said on the IG Live when I interviewed you the other day, I was like, how can we contribute to other families? And I was like, all right, I know kids and their families that don't have computers. Can we afford to help a few families, or at least get them an internet connection? So I talked to my neighbor who works in the public schools, and I was like, dude, I need you to go to some teachers. I need you to find me legit families that actually need some help. Whether I buy them a couple of computers or I start something bigger like what you did. Like, you could have just done a couple of pizzas to one area hospital over and over and over. And what you realize is like, no, I got to not only help these nurses and frontline workers, but I also got to do this for this fire department and these officers and these nurses and this children's center. And I can't just do it during the day. I also need to be helping them at 2 o'clock in the morning for that overnight shift. And that just really opened up my idea of like, stop thinking small. You always tell people make it bigger than you. Like, you can be the instigator, and I can buy 1 or 2 computers, but that ain't going to do it. We need to get like 20 families computers, right? 50 families computers, right? So like, I commend you on the work that you're doing through COVID, because you don't know the type of impact. I'm telling you what your impact has had to me. You probably don't even know what some of the impact that you've had to so many other people that decided to do something just because of what they see you putting out there.
I appreciate it, man.
Even just saying that right now, I get goosebumps saying that, because that's that exponential effect that until people tell us, we don't know. But you know how that exponential effect does come back to us? Karma.
Right. Yeah,
And
man,
you're
I
not doing it for
appreciate
that,
it.
especially when you're not doing it for that. I know you're not doing it for that. You're doing it for the right reasons, which is why, I keep telling my wife and my kid, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna start a karma app where you can get good points. And like every time you save a spider, depending on the spider, you go to my app, it tells you get 20 points for that spider. If you save another sentient being, you get, so I don't know what, like a COVID crisis feeding 50 nurses, it'd be like off the charts. Like you get 10,000 points on the karma.
I love it, man. Yo, I appreciate it, man. I definitely appreciate it. And, I'm grateful for it. I'm definitely grateful for it.
Yeah, man. And you can see it in their faces and looking at the pictures. So keep posting, man, because it's serving not only as hope for people that aren't doing the work that you're doing, just to see something good is serving as hope, but it's doing tremendous good work for the people that are receiving that. And I know you feel it because you told me about it on my live, but it's also getting me to be inspired to figure out how I can do more during this time to get back. So I salute you for that, man, and appreciate it. And always, man, I'm here for you, bro. I love the podcast. It's the top 10 podcasts in my playlist for no doubt. Like I've had to cut back on podcasts. Like I had to.
Right.
And it feels bad because you want to subscribe to so many. And I was like, yo, which ones am I actually going to release so I can actually just really start to consume them? And then maybe I'll go back to some of these others. And I was like, yo, this Decode is in there. It's like, no way, it's in there.
I love that, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all around, but I know you got to split. I want to make sure you're not late to your call. But
no,
Mario,
man. Thanks for everything. Everybody that's out there listening to this podcast, man, hit repeat. Make sure you're supporting Matt. Make sure you're listening to these shows. Tons of nuggets and gems in them. And it's up to you to take action. If I can be of any help, I love to mentor. I advocate for the underdog. So I'm a motivational mentor. So hit me up on IG in the DM, and I actually respond. It's painful. I spend a lot of time in the DM responding to people's problems, challenges, and trying to give them a different perspective. So hit me on IG, hit me with a follow, or DM me, and I'll hit you back.
I love that, man. I'm going to make sure that we emphasize that too, because you do respond in the DMs. That is for
sure.
I do,
brother. I do. Takes me a minute sometimes, but I do. I care.
I love it, Mario. Thank you again, man.
All right, man. Stay safe, stay healthy, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I'll see you soon. Peace.
Likewise.
Born in 92 on the block with the Sharks. Come from a different cloth, y'all would get ripped apart. You want it diamond, then you gotta get it in the dark. We dropping